Hey, what's up, guys? This is Alex Van Houten with Defining Dad Bod. Happy Tip Tuesday. I hope you're doing super well on Tuesdays. I go live and answer a question that a listener or supporter has submitted and I thought might be pertinent to everybody. So on one hand, I don't have to have this conversation over and over again because, Facebook Messenger and trying to type an essay is not always that much fun. And then second, because I hope it helps somebody who didn't ask the question but wanted the answer. Anyway, so the question today was, it was last week, but Alex, can you help me with my cravings? How do I get rid of cravings? And I have people ask me this question pretty regularly, not only at the start of a program, but also they might be into a training cycle or something like that. And so cravings are a really big deal because I don't know about you, but the average person experiences either a sweet craving or a salt craving multiple times a week. If you ask people and you say, are you craving sugar or salt? They'll say yes. And then which one? They might pick both even. And that's a very common occurrence in people's weeks. And if you're watching this, chances are you've either had a sweet or salt craving today or in the last 24 hours. And if you haven't, then you're likely to in the next couple days, if not multiple times. So all that to say, it's a big problem, and so it's worth talking about. I came up with a quick short list that I hope is helpful, and as you know, I'm pretty long-winded, so it might not be short to explain. The first thing that I recommend to get rid of cravings is to really address your hormones. So insulin, cortisol, testosterone, and thyroid hormones specifically. We build a pyramid around here and talk about it. If you haven't heard of that or that's news to you, I encourage you to check out our mastermind that we're launching first week of August. I'm going to walk through the hormone pyramid with you and show you how you can support optimal functioning with nutrition and lifestyle change. And so the first thing you can do for your cravings is get your insulin system working well, your cortisol system working well, your testosterone system working well, and your thyroid system working well. And believe it or not, there are many things that you're probably doing on a regular basis to completely flub up those systems on account of nutrition and lifestyle. And no, it's not like some magic pill. I'm generally against hormone replacement therapy unless you have a really good medical reason for doing so. But things like your sugar consumption at certain times of day, or maybe even your workout regimen might be messing with your hormone system, your sleep quality and quantity, those sorts of things. So if you haven't walked through that information yet, I encourage you to join us. I'll post a link for the registration for the early bird and stuff. But that's the number one thing I recommend to help people get their cravings under control. Generally, we crave sugar because we're riding the blood sugar roller coaster. That means we're consuming carbohydrates, breaking them down really quickly. We spike our blood sugar, insulin hits our system, and then our blood sugar plummets. And when we're on the down, you don't crave chicken and avocados when your blood sugar is low. You crave, the honey bun down the hall at work, or the sweet buns in the vending machine, or a chai tea latte. One of my clients really likes her chai tea lattes, and we're working on it. So anyway, that's the sugar side. On the salt side, it's a little more complicated, but the stress management hormone, cortisol is you can think of it as your stress management hormone, or your long-term circadian rhythm hormone. It is tied to another hormone called aldosterone, and aldosterone's job is to regulate your hydration. And so if you're regularly in a position where your body is working hard to compensate for your stress by overproducing cortisol or perhaps underproducing cortisol, either of those two things can actually pull away some hormonal function from your aldosterone, and that will mess with your electrolyte level. And so many people who are in a stressful situation, stressful position in their life, and perhaps you're not getting enough sleep, that sort of thing, maybe you're over-exercising, then you can find yourself in a position to be craving a lot of salt. And so anyway, the first thing, you want to help your cravings, you need to get your hormones working with you rather than against you on that front. Many of the things that I help people with regard to nutrition and lifestyle, it's not like you can't say stop craving ice cream. It doesn't happen. It's like stop thinking of a white polar bear. Haha, I win. You just thought of a white polar bear. It's the same thing. You can't do that with cravings. You can't say, well, I really need to stop craving sugar. It doesn't work that way. You have to deal with the underlying beast that's resulting in the salt and sugar cravings. So number one, hormones. If you want to check out that mastermind, I'll post the link to the registration after this video is done in the comments. So that's number one. That's in my opinion, that's the number one thing you can do to help yourself with your sugar and salt cravings, especially. The number two thing to help you with your cravings is actually proper pre and post workout nutrition. So I'm working with this guy, and he told me that he's been intermittent fasting for about a year, and it was really effective in helping him to drop a significant amount of weight and get a handle on his exercise and his nutrition. But now his sugar cravings in the evening are they're almost insurmountable. Like if he gets anything for his kids, pack of graham crackers or little thing of ice cream or whatever, he can't stop eating it, like in the nighttime. And so what I found is that he was intermittent fasting, and he was doing fasted exercise in his workout program. So he was waking up in the morning. His fasting window was in the morning. He'd go crush like an hour of weights, and then he would keep fasting till like lunchtime. And so we're talking about kind of altering his fasting window. Intermittent fasting can be a really powerful way to make you more insulin sensitive, to help you gauge into some hunger cues, to give you a little time restricted eating window around your nutrition and whatnot. But in some of the later phases of training, like athletic training or hypertrophy, which would be muscle growth and whatnot, your body needs either ketones or glycogen stores, one of the two. And many of the people who think they're keto are not actually ketogenic, so you're not getting either. That's a lot of fun. But what happens is, if your body depletes its glycogen stores in your workout and you don't replenish those, you're going to crave sugar like a boss. Like you're gonna crave so much sugar, it's gonna be coming out of your ears how much sugar you're craving. And so one of the things that you can do for yourself if you've got sugar and salt cravings is make sure that you're going into your workout in optimal conditions. If you're doing some really, really light stuff like yoga, maybe some foundational work, light weight training, that sort of thing, you could do that fasted. It won't hurt you too bad. We just put out an episode talking about fasted exercise and what it can and can't do for you. And if you're just now joining us, this is Tip Tuesday. This is Alex Van Houten with Defining Dad Bod. We're talking about overcoming cravings, particularly sugar and salt. But anyway, so supporting your glycogen stores in your workout program, you could do things like light intensity cardio, yoga, that sort of stuff fasted without it really shooting you in the foot. But if you're doing some HIIT training, maybe like an hour group training class, CrossFit, heavy weight training, and by heavy I mean anything above 50% of your 1 rep max for durations of time that are getting those muscles to burn and stuff, you really need to replenish your glycogen stores. Otherwise, you'll be like, no, I don't need anything. I'll be fine. I'm gonna increase my fat burn. Everything's fine. And then 7 p.m., 8 p.m. rolls around, and you're in the freezer eating ice cream. You probably should have just replenished your glycogen stores after your workout. So a simple way to do that, let's say, back, like 10 years ago, there was this whole, no, even longer than that. Man, we're getting old. 12 years ago, this was the chocolate milk study. I don't know if you guys remember that or not. They had NFL combine players take different ratios of protein and carbohydrates for after their workout to see what improved their performance and decreased delayed onset muscle soreness and that stuff. And it turns out that chocolate milk is like the perfect post-workout protein carbohydrate to protein ratio. And that's fine if you're an NFL combine player and your primary goal is improved performance and reduce delayed onset muscle soreness. But if your goal is some fat loss, don't go pounding chocolate milk right after your workout, because Alex said to replenish your glycogen stores. You're much better off eating a relatively high fiber composition carbohydrate, something like adding a cup of blueberries or strawberries to your protein shake post-workout. People are like, bananas, are they bad? Their glycemic index is pretty close to Skittles, actually. But that's not problematic if you pair it with some sort of fiber. So if you want to put a banana in your smoothie or whatever, add some chia seeds to that or some ground flax, and both of those can help to offset the glycemic index. The point is, though, you're not doing yourself any favors by starving yourself of carbohydrates right after your workout. You're actually making it harder on yourself with your sugar cravings at night. So that's another pre and post workout nutrition. So we want to get our hormones working for us rather than against us. If you want to jump into our hormone mastermind, I'll add that link here. We've got registrations through the end of the month. And then pre and post workout nutrition, really important. Support your glycogen stores. Another thing that you can do with your cravings, and this is a lot of fun. Cravings, there are a couple different mechanisms for cravings, but one of the psychological mechanisms is dopamine and serotonin. They're neurotransmitters in the brain. And dopamine, if you want to feel what this feels like, dopamine is the neurotransmitter that you get a little hit of when your phone buzzes or like a text message or a message or somebody's calling you and you're like, oh, I gotta answer my phone, I gotta check my phone, I gotta do this thing that can't wait. That's dopamine. And when it's been a long day and you're kind of in a lull and maybe it's been a little stressful, you haven't been sleeping super well, your dopamine and serotonin are a little lower than your body would like them to be. And so you want a little boost. And one of the ways you get a boost is to consume something high in sugar. Sugar is a really good way to get a nice little boost of dopamine and serotonin. That's why we call them comfort foods. Things like macaroni and cheese. You're like, there's not a lot of sugar in macaroni and cheese. It breaks down really fast to basically be sugar in the bloodstream. So your macaroni and cheese and your brownies and your cookies and you don't need me to make you hungry, but all of those things elevate your dopamine and serotonin. And so that's a craving. Well, one of the things that you can do to help you elevate your dopamine and serotonin is go for a quick walk. About 10 minutes, actually. That's what I'm doing right now. My walk's not because I had cravings. My walk is because I needed some steps and it's mid-morning and good time for a break and hang out with you guys. But anyway, actually going for a quick walk, 5 to 10 minutes is all you need, is actually a really good way to raise the baseline of dopamine and serotonin as a neurotransmitter in the brain. And so that's a really big deal for many of my clients. I say, hey, you know what? You're craving sugar, go for a walk. And worst case scenario, you go for a walk and you eat the sugar anyway. At least you went for a walk, because you would have just been sitting in your living room eating sugar as opposed to going for a quick walk. So, maybe at work and you're craving the donuts down the hall, or maybe you're hanging out with your spouse watching Netflix or something at the end of the day. It's like, hey, before we do anything, let's go for a walk real quick. I don't need to be eating the ice cream in the freezer right now. And then if you do come back and have some ice cream, again, at least you went for a walk, and that could be a pretty powerful way to offset the cravings. I don't want you to think of it as like I have to earn my ice cream by going for a walk. That's not where I want your brain right now. You're not a dog. Stop treating yourself with food. That's silly. But you can help the whole craving feeling through exercise, which is pretty fun. And then the last one I'd say, and this was actually pretty surprising to me. I was reading through some of the research recently, getting ready for this mastermind that we're doing. And one of the things that I found was an interesting study where they took weight loss participants and they had one group of them try to limit their desserts in the evening. They were like, hey guys, you can only have 3 desserts per week, okay? Cheesecake, carrot cake, all of the cakes, puddings, whatever. You can have 3 of those each week. And then the other group, they told them, you can have all the dessert you want, but you can only have them in the morning. I was like, that's interesting. Guess who lost more weight? It's kind of fun. It's the people who had all the desserts they wanted, but in the morning. Well, why is that? Well, first of all, if you have your dessert in the morning, you might actually go use that energy for something, as opposed to eating your dessert and then going to bed, because you're not really making great use of those calories sleeping, right? So that's kind of fun. So you actually might do something with the energy you got from your sugar craving in the morning. And psychologically speaking, if you have your dessert in the morning, you don't feel deprived. Let's say you get a sugar craving in the evening. You're like, well, I had dessert this morning. I'm good. So you don't feel as deprived having your dessert in the morning. And then the other thing I thought was interesting that the researchers talked about was that they actually chose to eat fewer desserts all around anyway, knowing that they could have their dessert in the morning because they felt less restricted, and therefore it's kind of the white polar bear thing, right? Don't think about carrot cake at dinner time. Oh, dang it, I lost. But if you're at dinner time, you're like, I could really go for some carrot cake, but I ate my desserts in the morning. Maybe I'll have that tomorrow morning instead of now. Then, well, so don't hear that one of the ways you can combat your sugar cravings is by eating dessert for breakfast. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that if sugar cravings in the evening are a thing for you, then perhaps you might do well to give yourself a little rule around eating desserts. And if you want to eat desserts, they research that you might do it better in the morning, where you're going to use the energy, you're not going to feel so deprived, and you're actually going to eat fewer desserts as a result. So there's that. Anyway, so quick list. We're going to get our hormones working for us rather than against us. We're going to be intelligent about our pre- and post-workout nutrition and not starve our glycogen stores after a hard workout. We're also going to... I had a whole giant list. Give me a second. What else are we going to do here? Somebody shouted that at me. We're going to eat our dessert in the morning if we're going to eat some sort of dessert. And we're going to go for a walk instead to get some elevated dopamine and serotonin levels. I see if you're live and you have a question about this, you're welcome to post it. Tony says, I get a lot of sugar and salt cravings. I'm sorry, Tony. I know that's not any fun. Like having sugar and salt cravings all the time is not any fun. I hope something I said here was helpful to you. And it looks like we've got Brad and Ivor and Ashley and Rachel, and got Daniel and Brent. Hi guys, thanks for joining us. This has been Alex Van Houten with Defining Dad Bod on Tip Tuesday. I go live on Tuesdays to address questions that have been submitted from listeners and supporters and clients and that sort of thing. So I hope that was helpful. I hope that if you need some more help around your hormones and stuff, that you'll join us for our mastermind. The early registration ends this Friday, so you get 30% off if you register before Friday. And then our first mastermind week will launch in August. And we'll be going through the pyramid: insulin, cortisol, testosterone, and thyroid, getting those hormones working for you rather than against you. Well, my walk is coming to an end. I'm not craving anything sweet, but I'm going to go do what I hope you guys do, which is kick butt and take names. Take care, guys.